morning of Wednesday, October 4th. That's Jack McMullen, and I am Peter Appel. Welcome to the Just Baseball Show. On this episode, we are going over everything that happened yesterday, day one of the Wild Card Series. And then on the back half, we're going to preview day two. These podcasts this week, it's going to be a little bit of shorter episodes, right? Because the shelf life, it goes rather quickly. But we still got to talk about all the games and then preview the next day. And it's all brought to you by BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. Use promo code JustBaseball when you sign up and deposit into your newly created account. Download the BetMGM sports app on iOS or Android, or visit BetMGM.com. Place your first bet offer and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if it loses. If the bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once the wager is settled. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older, and terms and conditions apply. Jack, before we get into today, show the people on YouTube your background right now. It's electric.
Well, do you like my mustache, first and foremost? This is my...
I think they'd prefer the background.
This is my it's a long baseball season and I'm a little tired mustache. Also chose now to vacation. You say, Jack, probably a wrong time to vacation. There's never a right time to vacation. But I'm in Madeira right now, which is an island off Portugal. My brother's studying abroad in Lisbon, and he was like, I really want to go to Madeira because that's where Ronaldo's from. This place is amazing. Like, the price point is much lower than like the major European cities like Paris or London or anything like that. And they call this Europe's Hawaii. Like, we were at mountain peaks. We were off the coastlines. Like, there are crazy drives that you got to do. Like, there are banana plants right outside my Airbnb. Have you ever heard of Madeira before? I had never heard of it before he came abroad.
Yeah, I studied abroad in Florence. I've been there. I've been to Lisbon in Portugal, and I'm from Santa Barbara, California, and I felt Portugal was the closest place to home, right? Yeah. I live in New York now, but lived most of my life in Santa Barbara, so that's why I love Portugal so much. And the food is so good, and it's not expensive. It's one of the best places to go to in Europe.
I love this place. Yeah, nothing but rave reviews about Portugal, and then Madeira as well. It was what, €60 round trip flight on Ryanair. If we had these budget airlines like a Ryanair or an EasyJet stateside, I would be quadruple platinum. And you could say, wait, what about Frontier? No. Should we talk baseball now? The way that I was kind of thinking we could structure it is, and this may be the way going forward, we go series by series. Game one recap, game two preview. Game one recap, game two preview. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. And the way I introed it, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to go series by series, ladies and gentlemen. And let's start with Rays versus Rangers. The big story was that not even 20,000 fans were at Tropicana. The lowest recorded total of fans at a stadium in a playoff game since 1919, as reported by The Athletic. Now, the discourse surrounding that is fascinating to me, because it's some people racing to comment section saying, well, it's at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday. I mean, what do you mean? What do you want us to do? You know, Tropicana Field is too far. Are we serious? Are we serious? It's game one of the playoffs. I know there wasn't a ton of notice. I understand that. But why are we running to protect these people when it's the lowest since 1919? Not the lowest of the last couple of years, not the lowest of the 21st century. No, the lowest arguably of all time. When it gets into that level, it's a little bit much. We got to talk about the game, but I wanted to start with that.
Yeah, a lot of bit much. What I will also say is I know the fine folks of St. Pete are not 9 to 5 roll up your sleeve Monday to Friday people. Like, there are a lot of retirees that can get out to the ballpark on a Tuesday. The thing that jumps out to me with this is like, okay, yes, we're surprised at the number that came in. That 1919 date is jarring, but it's also Tampa, and we knew that they wouldn't sell out. I think we know that. Was it kind of crazy? Yes, but like, if any ballpark was going to do this, it was going to be Tampa, because even when the team is great, nobody shows up. Like with Oakland, when the team is great, people show up. Pittsburgh, when the team is great, people show up. Baltimore, kind of same thing. It depends on quality of team. Tampa could be an 115 win team, and people still aren't going to show up because of what has been laid out. Build that ballpark complex. What I like now is the new stadiums that are making their way into baseball. So the one that we're going to see in Vegas and the one we're going to see in St. Pete are the two lowest capacity stadiums that we've seen in baseball history. And the reason you do that, A, is because state of the art and new requires luxury. Luxury requires more room. But also, it looks less shitty when it doesn't sell out like this. And there were just a lot of blue seats in the Trop yesterday, and that wasn't fun to see. What was fun to see was Jordan Montgomery absolutely shove. J-Mont looked amazing. And I know we're going to talk about Evan Carter reaching base 4 times, and, we can do a whole bunch of that. I thought Glasnow looked good in spurts, but he wasn't consistently on like Montgomery was for his entire outing.
Couldn't agree with you more. Jordan Montgomery stepped up on that mound and looked like a bona fide ace. And he has been, and we've said it on the show before, one of the most underrated pitchers in all of Major League Baseball, because he's not the lefty like Shane McClanahan or Jesus Zardo, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, who's 97 with tons of movement. It's a lot of changeups on the black. It's fastballs moving in and out. It's working through a lineup methodically. But the Rays also, they put up some garbage ABs. Now, we give credit to Jordan Montgomery, but I didn't think he had, like, the stat line looked great. It was a dominant performance, but I thought the Rays were over aggressive. And then when you factor in that they made 4 errors on top of it, it was a really sloppy game by the Rays, coupled with the lowest attendance since 1919. It was just a really bad showing from a Rays team that won 99 games during the regular season, and a Rays team that has been in the playoffs before. This hasn't been a bottom feeder team that just made the playoffs and has no fans. Okay. Rays fans are quick to go to the comments. Like, I know that they have plenty of fans out there, and they deserve plenty of fans because they're a fantastic organization, and there are so many fun, good players on the team. But the only player who showed up in that game was, of course, playoff Randy, who started his night with 2 hits and just keeps doing playoff Randy things. But overall, I thought the Rays looked bad. I'm going to talk about a bet in a minute. I didn't think the Rangers looked all that good either. So we'll talk about it.
Glasnow cut him up a little bit. There were a couple of curveballs that Glasnow threw in high pressure situations that we were texting back and forth about, and it was like, wow, this guy looks sharp. But Glasnow has thrown in some bigger games. Tampa, annually, we say, oh, look out for Tampa in the postseason. Here's the thing, man. The postseason is about stars. And I think that we learned that with the Phillies last year, and we learned that with the Astros. It's always going to be a Kyle Tucker or a Yordan Alvarez or a Jose Altuve stepping up. For the Phillies, it was always going to be Bryce Harper. Like, you never really get the young, exciting guy break out. And I think Randy is the exception. And of course, like, there's going to be somebody that comments like, Jack, don't you remember this rookie had an amazing stretch? Like, Jeremy Pena won World Series MVP. Like, okay, sure. But Yordan delivered the crushing blow. The question that I would ask people that are backing the Rays is, who's going to deliver the crushing blow? Who's been there before? Because they lost to Cleveland last year and their offense looked anemic. They're always really good, but they're always really young and really inexperienced in pressure cooker situations. Like, I love Isaac Paredes more than the next guy. And I saw you put out your hot take that he was going to win World Series MVP. And I love it. I still love it.
And then I retweeted it. I was like, that bet might have soured in 6 hours.
Yeah. But what I love is, like, he can be the guy for them. But what I hate is he kind of has to be the guy for them. You know what I mean? Like, a Yandy Diaz needs to be that guy, and Isaac Paredes needs to be that guy. They just don't have anybody that's proven it over the course of a postseason. except
I
Brandon.
agree. They don't have anybody that's proven it over a postseason, but at the same time, like these are younger guys with a ton of talent. Yandy Diaz was right there with Corey Seager for the batting title. I
Yep.
mean, this guy was one of the best hitters in the American League. He is a big reason why the Rays won 99 games. Isaac Paredes can hit anybody at any given time. And we saw Isaac Paredes have a phenomenal WBC, right? So we know when the lights are shining, he can arrive. That's why it was such a weird game by the Rays. 4 errors from this team, 0 for 4 from Yandy Diaz. Harold Ramirez didn't show up. Isaac Paredes got 1 hit. Manuel Margot's kind of been doing 0 for 2 type things this entire year. Josh Lowe didn't play because it was against a lefty, but he's a big-time bat. He'll be back against Eovaldi and a righty. Taylor Walls had a good day, but, I mean, how many times have we seen Jose Siri catch that ball in center field?
Yeah.
It's a tough play, but it hit off his glove. Yandy Diaz making an error first. Like, there was just so many unlikely Rays things that happened. And what I will say is, I do have confidence in them in game 2. And the reason and what I did, I put a half unit on the Rays to win the series at plus 210 on BetMGM. And the reason I did that was I thought if the Rangers bats looked phenomenal, okay, the Rays just can't beat the Rangers when their bats are hot, right? We've talked about it so many times. When the Rangers bats are cooking, they could win the World Series. But as a team, they had a 206 expected batting average. The Rays had a 227 expected batting average. Both bats didn't really look good, but the Rays bailed them out with 4 errors. I kind of related to football, right? And turnovers, interceptions, fumbles. Those things are kind of fluky and they don't go from game to game. But it'd be different if it was a Red Sox team who set the record for one of the worst defensive teams ever. But the Rays are not that team. They still have a great bullpen. Glasnow looked, I think you said it perfectly, sharp at times. That last curveball to Josh Young, which he struck out on, I thought that was one of the greatest pitches ever thrown. I mean, that was just, that was diabolical. Seriously, diabolical. So we got Eovaldi coming in with a 9.30 ERA in the month of September, coming off the injury against Eflin, who has been unbelievable this season, but even better at home. So if they can win game 2, like Kevin Millar said, don't let us win tonight. And I wasn't impressed enough with the Rangers in game 1 to think that the Rays can't even the series and then win in game 3. With that said, though, if the Rays bats are just dead, because they, no doubt, did not look good yesterday, the series is over.
Yeah, and they might be dead because they were dead for the Wild Card Series last year in Cleveland, and Oscar Gonzalez walked off a 1-0 game in the 15th. I thought you hit the nail on the head with Eovaldi. That guy had a 9.5 ERA in the month of September after coming back. He doesn't look good. Eflin looks awesome at the Trop. Eflin looks like one of the better pitchers in the American League at the Trop. If I had to set the odds on game 2, Tampa's like a 400 favorite, a minus 400 favorite. Like, Tampa's winning game 2. I already saw it happen. So game 3 is what you're betting on, and at plus 210, I understand that.
And it would be John Gray versus Aaron Savali, where the Rays would probably be a favorite again.
I guess at home, yeah, I guess. It's just a toss-up, and I think it comes down to the bullpens, and I have more faith in Tampa's bullpen than Texas's bullpen. So I do think that Tampa wins game 2. It skews so heavily in favor of Tampa on the hill. If they can hit just enough, I think they can get it done in game 2.
But I also want to give credit to the Rangers because, we're talking with Kendall, shout out Kendall McKee in our Just Baseball group chat, and has been great on the merch, and he's a great writer for us, and he's a big Rangers fan. And he says, I love us in game 2. I think Eovaldi is going to bounce back because Eovaldi does have great numbers against the Rays, and our bats look good enough that we can hang with anybody, even if Eovaldi gives up some runs. And I was like, I kind of agree with you. That's why I put half unit on it, plus 210. It's more of a flyer to get me set up for game 3 if they win this one. I could see Eovaldi flipping the switch. And how about Evan Carter? We heard about, during the regular season, there looked like there was a hole. There was a blue zone up and out with high velocity. And I thought to myself, if Glasnow's throwing, and then you look at the Rays, Well, this Rays team is the best at identifying the flaws and getting there. And I saw them trying to go up and away to Evan Carter. But then they barely missed. And he hits line drives into the outfield. This guy is so good. And while he might have a hole based on the blue zone, if you miss, he's gonna hit the ball hard. And there was even that ground ball to Yandy Diaz that he hit. I think it was maybe for a double or a single. But that was another tough pitch that he got to. I mean, he is just such a good player, and that's at the bottom of the order. I thought Leody Taveras put up a great AB every single time he was up there. And then Corey Seager just keeps doing Corey Seager shit. So the Rangers, I want to be clear. It's plus 210.5 unit. I am not confident in the Rangers just laying down and losing this series. However, when we look at starting pitching matchups, I think the Rays have the edge. But again, the Rangers might just crush Zach Eflin because when they're hot, they're hot.
Yeah, but they're not hot. So, I mean, you just said that.
But they could get hot.
They can. They absolutely can with a snap of a finger. My last thing on Carter is that guy looked so comfortable in his postseason debut. And there are very few guys that look that comfortable in their postseason debut. The one that kind of has that lasting imprint on me is Xander Bogaerts in 2013. Bogaerts in 13, it was like full count every single plate appearance. And he looked so comfortable at the dish during the postseason. I hope we get to see that with Carter if they do win this series.
Let's move on to Toronto and Minnesota. Pablo Lopez, great outing.
Are we really leading? Are we really leading with Pablo Lopez right now? How about Royce fucking Lewis, brother?
Well, I was going to end with him. I thought it was a cool ending.
Go ahead. All right, sorry. Scrap it. Restart.
Pablo Lopez diced through a Blue Jays lineup when there were questions. Well, he hasn't been that good at home this year. Well, in his last outing against the Blue Jays, 5 innings, 4 earned. How is he going to fare without a lot of postseason experience? The fastball was 97. The sweeper was disgusting. Then the bullpen came in and did the job. Yohan Duran with the incredible entrance. I thought it was so diabolical that he was just throwing curveballs to start. Your whole game plan is, all right, we got to deal with 99-mile-an-hour splinkers and 103-mile-an-hour fuzzballs.
Nope. When you see his arm.
There's a little bit of my curveball. And then he just flies in that 103-mile-an-hour fastball. On the offensive side, for the Twins, wasn't that great. Edouard Julien had some great at-bats. I thought Jorge Polanco did not. Carlos Correa added a hit of his own and a great defensive play to save a run. But the MVP of the game, the MVP, I think, of day one, Royce freaking Lewis. Hasn't played in 2 weeks, making his first game off an IL stint, basically playing on one hamstring. The Twins told him, don't run out the box too hard. We just need your bat in the lineup. And holy shit, they needed his bat in the lineup. 2 bombs resulted in all of the runs that the Twins scored. Royce Lewis arrived on day one. I can't wait to see what he does game 2. And the Blue Jays were very underwhelming. Couldn't hit with runners in scoring position. I don't think Gausman even pitched that poorly. I think the Twins just had some timely hits from Royce Lewis. Like, he just got Royce Lewis. But the Blue Jays are in trouble here, Jack.
That was way cooler ending with Royce Lewis than starting with Royce Lewis. Yeah, I'll eat crow. But yeah, like, Royce was absolutely the MVP of day one, and I do think that the Blue Jays are in a lot of trouble. I've got no notes. Gausman threw well. I really do think that Gausman threw well. I can't even call them mistakes to Lewis. You can call a couple of those gopher balls mistakes if you want, but when that guy's hot, it doesn't matter who's throwing to him or what they're throwing to him. He's going to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And we learned that this year. We learned that in the back half of this year after he came back from injury from that torn ACL that he had last season. I do think that they're in a world of shit. And Sonny Gray and Barrios, I think if anybody can go into let's finish the job mode that's left aside from Pablo Lopez, it is Sonny Gray. And Sonny Gray, I think, had one of the more underappreciated pitching seasons in Major League Baseball this year. Barrios, I think, went really underappreciated too, because he got such a negative connotation attached to him after last year. This year was a total bounce back. He looks every bit worth that extension that he was handed by Toronto if he does this for the next 4 or 5 years. But Sonny is a guy that, like, I don't think many people were circling at all in this free agent class coming into the year, or maybe even through the first month of the year. But then we get 2 months in and you realize this guy has an ERA at 2 and he's leading the American League in ERA, and he's throwing like everything but the fastball at all times. I think Sonny is set up for a ton of success against a Blue Jays lineup that frankly looks lost right now.
I agree. And to the Blue Jays' credit, at least, they did have some relative big time hits. Bo Bichette just stays hot. He's a problem for Minnesota. He's a problem for everyone. He is seriously one of the best bat-to-ball guys
He's a
in
demon.
Major League Baseball, and will be for the next decade. Kevin Kiermaier had a big time hit. Chapman almost had a big time hit off Louis Varland. And when Rocco Baldelli put him in over every other reliever, when he could have brought in Thielbar in to face Kiermaier, but he gave Lopez the extra guy, even though Lopez does struggle against left-handed bats much more than right-handed. That's what I was saying at the beginning of the season. And I've been saying throughout it, and I said in our preview, I'm not a Rocco Baldelli guy. And I actually thought that John Schneider moved through his bullpen really, really well.
Yeah.
I thought he was aggressive with it. He was like, I'm playing the lefty-righty matchups, and he has so many weapons at his disposal, but I like that he was aggressive. I thought Rocco Baldelli got a little bit lucky with some of his decisions, but the Twins bullpen did shut the door, got the plays when needed, and shout out Michael A. Taylor for catching that in the outfield. But when I look at this, the rest of this series, I mean, we talked about on the preview with Arm and Foolish Baseball. I bet the Twins money on game 1. I bet them to win the series, and I'm betting them game 2, and I'm also betting the under because Barrios has some excellent numbers against the Minnesota Twins. He's also a former Minnesota Twin. So they're going to be looking in not for revenge per se, but this is a big start for him. But at the same time, Sonny Gray not only has excellent numbers against the Blue Jays, but he's excellent at home. He's excellent during the day. He's just excellent. And we saw how good these bullpens are. I mean, I feel like every single guy that comes out of both pens, I have full confidence in. Griffin Jax comes out yesterday in the 8th inning, immediate double to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and you're saying, whoa, the Blue Jays might get it here. Bang, 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 slider, done, sit down. Just floored. I mean, I knew he was a great reliever, but that was dominant. And then Durant comes in, and it was actually over. I couldn't reiterate how over it was when that man stepped on the mound. The Blue Jays still have great arms. I think it's gonna be a low-scoring Twins win.
He may be the title holder going into next year because Felix Bautista is getting Tommy John surgery. Devin Williams crumbled, and I know we're going to get to that in a moment. But going into next year, I think Yohan Duran might be the best reliever in baseball.
He's up there. He's got an argument.
He might be there, but
see this postseason. But he's off to a good start.
We'll see. Yeah, just to wrap on this series, game 2, I think, goes to Minnesota. I think they finish the job tonight.
It's funny, like I want to shout out other Twins hitters, but
there was nobody.
Not much. No. You know, Cray had a nice base hit, Kepler had a nice base hit, but you know, they were on the ground. It was really just the Royce Lewis show, and then Edouard Julien just professional ABs. I said that I said it into our group chat after he worked a walk at the first. I was like, that was a gritty walk. That was a professional AB. Yes. And then he got hosed on a ball that was a foot inside on a Kevin Gausman splitter. And there's also, I really want to shout out this thread on Twitter that I reposted about Gausman and tipping pitches, because I was seeing that discourse online and I was curious. But Chris Black, his Twitter username is down2black, live sports producer, content creator, husband, dad, old man athlete. But he really breaks it down well. Tipping or not, talking about pitch locations and the Twins' game plan against Kevin Gausman, not just yesterday, but moving forward and in the past. If it's at your knees, just don't swing. And a lot of fans were wondering, is he tipping pitches? Because the takes that the Twins had against that splitter were amazing, right? They were just below the zone and they were still taking it. I think the Twins just have a game plan against Gausman. Don't swing at anything at the knees because he's got to beat us on that low fastball. So I don't think he was tipping pitches based on that thread. When I was watching it, I didn't think he was tipping pitches. I just think the Twins are built on not chasing, working good at bats, and that's why they're a good offense. That's why they're the number 3 offense in Major League Baseball in terms of WRC plus against right-handed pitching at home. They're just a good lineup.
I also think if Gausman was tipping pitches, then multiple guys would have had good days, but it was one guy.
That's what I'm saying. It was just Royce Lewis.
It was just him. So, let's put that to bed. No, I think they probably went in with a plan of attack like, hey, if you see the split coming, don't swing at it because it's one of the better pitches in baseball and you're probably going to get screwed. And regardless, everybody got screwed except Royce Lewis.
Exactly. Diamondbacks versus Brewers.
Dude, this was backwards. This was a game that unfolded in a way that I was not anticipating whatsoever. Corbin Carroll going yard would have made my bingo card. That might have been it. Gabby Moreno hitting a nuke was not there. I was thinking, hey, maybe he split some outfielders the other way. This guy is a bat-to-ball catcher. He's not like, let me hit a 450-foot homer, but that thing, eye test, made it go 520 feet. Yep. Gabby went bridge. That was crazy. Fott was a tightrope act, and that was so hard to watch. My shoulders were so tense. But the fact that they beat Corbin Burnes with Brandon Pfaadt as the starting pitcher is a tip of the cap to what they had going on in that bullpen, man. Joe Mantiply got the dub. Kevin Ginkel was nails. Paul Sewald slammed the door. The young bats showed up. I did not think Arizona was going to beat Milwaukee, but now we're looking at the D-backs up 1-0.
Now we're looking at the D-backs up 1-0. And I could have seen it just because the Diamondbacks have been able to hit Corbin Burnes before, but they jumped on him. I mean, that Corbin Carroll home run, he is just simply a superstar. I mean, he looked like the best player on the field over Corbin Burnes, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like, he was the superstar on the field in game 1 against the Brewers team who was first place in their division and was really a solid team all season long. But Corbin Carroll 2 for 3 in this first game, and then Christian Walker as well. The whole offense. It wasn't just Gabby Moreno too, even though, of course, he had the big-time home run, but Ketel Marte as well. And then how about the game from Evan Longoria, looking like he's 25 out there, looking like Tampa Bay Rays Evan Longoria. I've never seen a crowd. Well, I have probably. But the way the crowd quieted when Evan Longoria made that snag at third and then turned it for a double play sucked the air right out of the building.
In real time. Real time. It wasn't a murmur. It was like build up, build up, build up. Crack of the bat, a slight up, and then as soon as he makes that catch, pin drop silence, out number 2 somehow gets more quiet than that. Longo being good in that moment was really fun. That was nostalgic, I guess, because Longo on that young team is a great wrinkle to have. It's, hey, you've got like the old curmudgeon in Evan Longoria, and then you've got Corbin Carroll and Gabby Moreno over here, and you've got a starter who's starting his first postseason game after like 15 mediocre big league starts this year. So the fact that they did have a veteran presence there and it wasn't Christian Walker, like Evan Longoria being good for that young, exciting team was funny. And I loved it.
So I posted on Twitter that I was worried about how the Diamondbacks bullpen would perform in a short series, just in the playoffs in general. And what did they do? 6 1/3 innings of scoreless baseball. Now, with that said, I understand there's context to scoreless baseball. the Brewers left a lot of runners on base. I thought as a team, they actually hit pretty well if you discount scoring
Not
runners.
scoring runs.
Yeah, exactly. William Contreras went 2 for 4. Yelich went 1 for 3 with 2 walks. Right, Carlos Santana had a hit. The only guy who didn't have a hit in the lineup that started was Mark Canha, went 0 for 4, and Bryce Terang, who went 0 for 1 with a walk, and then was pinch hit by Jesse Winker and Monasterio, then subbed in to play second base. But Tyrone Taylor had a hit. Donaldson went 2 for 4. Willie Adames went 3 for 4. And Sal Frelick went 2 for 5. So the offense showed up. They just didn't show up in the right moments. So I still have concerns about the Diamondbacks bullpen, but I'm not as concerned as I was because, like you said as well, Mantiply did look good. Ginkel struck out the side. That guy was nasty. And then we saw his celebration just so fired up. And one other thing. Now, I'm just a dude sitting behind a mic, and Ryan Thompson is Evan Longoria's teammate. But when Evan Longoria made that snag, you could see his mouth go, "Let's go, Evan." Evan? Do people call him Evan? He's Longo.
I mean, I'm not sure his wife calls him Longo.
I know, but I was just surprised Ryan Thompson was like, "Let's go, Evan." I just felt weird to me.
Not
And it might
everybody
be what
needs to
everybody
call him
calls
Longo,
him.
man.
What'd
Like,
you say?
not everyone needs to call him Longo. Like, you're
I just thought it
Peter,
was
you're
funny.
Papel, you're Apple. You've got all these nicknames.
I just thought it was funny. I just
love
thought in that moment he was so excited. He said, "Let's go, Evan." I don't
love
know.
it. That's his
I thought it
friend
was funny.
Evan. It's not his
Yeah, I
friend
thought it was funny.
Longo. It's not the one he got the autograph from when he first shared a clubhouse with him. Did you
What do you
think?
think?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Did you think Josh Donaldson was going to have a multi-hit day in the postseason this year?
Of course not. I mean, of course
Baseball's so
he is.
stupid, bro. It's so weird. Like, he's going to have a big homer tonight, and this is going to be a moot point. But Josh Donaldson going 2 for 4 in a postseason game was certainly something that I wasn't necessarily thinking when we hit the trade deadline.
I will say I don't think this series is over. I am more confident in the Rays now pulling the upset, but I still think the Brewers have a shot here because I think Freddie Peralta will pitch well. I still think the Brewers have the bullpen advantage, right? I know Devin Williams didn't pitch well.
He looked terrible.
They still got Abner Uribe, and I know he didn't look good, but I could see him bouncing back. He's still Devin Williams. Like, it could have just been a rough day. And at the end of the day, it didn't even matter that he was bad because the Diamondbacks already had the lead and the Brewers just stalled at 3 runs anyway.
Devin threw a ton of pitches. He will be throwing with not 100%. Like, I wasn't going to say he's going to be like, not up, because he absolutely will be up in game 2 because you have to be. But he just looked really, really bad. And that stinks because Devin Williams never really looked really, really bad at any point this year. I don't think there was a single outing where you can look at and say, wow, this guy walked 3 and he didn't look confident whatsoever. Counterpoint, while Peralta is exciting, Gallen's numbers against Milwaukee this year?
Extremely good.
14 innings, 6 hits, 1 run.
But he does have struggles on the road, and the Diamondbacks have seen him a lot. I could see him dominating. But in a low-scoring game, I could see the Brewers winning that one, and then in game 3, anything can happen. Like, while Gallen is amazing, but Freddie Peralta is also fantastic.
But you have to remember that game 3 is not Woodruff. But it's also, like, it's Kelly.
And Kelly's good, but also an ERA over 4 on the road. And the Brewers are known to be a very good sinker hitting team. The Brewers should be able to hit him, and then they have the bullpen advantage. And in game 3, it's like, yeah, we could say Kelly should shove. But we were also saying Burns could shove.
Yeah, and Fott was going to get demolished. And Fott, it was, 7 hits in 3 innings? But
I mean, it was a great effort, I thought, out of him. But, I mean, it was disappointing, right? We want to see a young pitcher like that grab hold of an opportunity and take it in stride. Like, even if he pitched relatively well, right? Let's say he goes 4 innings, 1 run or something like that. there's a lot of confidence moving in for him next year. After that type of performance and the year that he's had, and I know he looked better at the very tail end of the year, but there was a couple stints there where he definitely did not. I don't really know what to think about him moving forward, right? There's a lot of numbers, pitch modeling that says, yeah, he's going to be a good pitcher. His minor league data, where he's striking out the world, basically pitching on the moon out there in Reno, says he's going to be a good pitcher. He's got the body for it. He's got a good pitch mix, but there's something there that isn't working. And we'll dive into that this offseason. But overall, I think the Brewers are live in this series. Am I that confident in them? Not really. I'm the least confident of them at this point, but I still think they're live. I don't think the Diamondbacks, while they did win by 3 runs, I don't think they dominated that game. I think the Brewers left a lot to be desired on the base pass. And if they can just knock a few in, I think they can win game 2. And then in game 3, anything can happen.
I think Arizona puts it away because Zach Gallen goes into kill mode. I think this guy has smelled success against Milwaukee twice this year, and he's got a recipe, and he's going to attack. And he coughed up the Cy Young in August, I'd say. Steele coughed it up in September. I think Gallen may truly believe that he was the best pitcher in the National League this year, and this is a great opportunity to prove that he was the best pitcher in the National League this year.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Brewers win game 2, and then they win game 3, because that would be more fun. And I can see it happening. I don't think it's foolish. Do I truly believe in it? I'm very unsure, but I'm not putting it out of the realm of possibility. Now, here's a series that the Phillies only won by 3 runs. The series is over. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Marlins lose game 2. But what it means is they ain't winning 2 in a row. That crowd is unlike anything in Major League Baseball. The bank was rocking. I think that's the story of this game. We can talk about Wheeler, and we will. We can talk about some big-time hits.
Yeah.
We can talk about Trey Turner going 2 for 2 on stolen bases when he was perfect in the regular season. We'll talk about all of it. But that crowd, God, I love Red October. Every single time. I said it on Twitter, I'm a Red October guy. Every time there is something about watching the Phillies game where it's overwhelming for the opposition. It's like the 12th man in Seattle for Seahawks games, except I think it's as big, if not more. They are rocking. It's got to be so hard to win in Citizens Bank. And when the Phillies have this offense, I just cannot see the Marlins winning 2 in a row. I could see them getting a good start out of Garrett, inching out a win, because this is a big time start for Nola. This is are you going to be back on the Phillies type start? Because he's a free agent after the year. This is a Phillies career defining start, and he's gotten beat up by the Marlins before. So I would not be surprised if the Marlins win game 2. Ranger, where the Marlins were split is against lefties, and that crowd, I cannot see them losing game 3, especially with no Sandy.
I decided where I sit on Aaron Nola. I figured out the proper way to vocalize my thoughts on Nola. Aaron Nola's reliability comes in his availability. It doesn't come in his results. I think that this guy is pretty unreliable on a start-by-start basis. The thing that you know is that he can give you 100 pitches every time he takes the ball. And there's so much value in that. And I think that that guy is bordering on an $100 million pitcher for that reason alone. I want that guy throwing 200 innings a year for me. But he had 2 amazing starts to start last postseason, and then 3 really rough starts to end the postseason. We branded them as this like 2-horse thing that you got at the front of the rotation, but Wheeler was American Pharoah, and Nola was like the 15-1 horse in the Kentucky Derby. He was middle of the field. You know, like, okay, co-aces. No. Zach Wheeler's the ace. Nola's just always there. And Nola's good. Nola's really talented. Some of his pitches are really good by the metrics. And he is a 3.5 ERA guy when it's all right. but he was a 4 guy this year. And he can get tagged for 6 earned in 5 innings. And that's what Miami's done to him the last 2 times. I think it's 15 hits, 9 runs in the last 10 and a third in 2 starts against the Marlins over the last couple months. The Marlins can get to Aaron Nola. He's not Zach Wheeler. Braxton Garrett, I love when you describe pitchers as you blink and they're in the 7th. I think that's what you said about Merrill Kelly. Braxton Garrett, I blink and he's in the 7th.
Yep.
And that can be what happens. I think that the Marlins win tonight. But here's a hot take, I guess. And I'm not trying to make any friends here. I love the Philly fan base. I sneaky enjoy the Eagles fan base. I know people view them as unbearable. I like the Eagles fan base. They're way more enjoyable for me than the Patriots fan base. But the Phillies fan base, man, they just fucking care about baseball. And I love that they care about baseball. And they try and sneak alligators into the ballpark as emotional support animals. And I'm all in on that. I'm not an Embiid guy, but I appreciate what the Sixers fans are doing. I'm a big Philly in the postseason guy. And I do think that the Marlins sneak away with game 2, but game 3 on vibes alone, Philly takes this series.
And I wouldn't even be surprised if the Phillies win this game. I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Nola comes in and pitches really well. Like Braxton Garrett might pitch really well, but the Phillies then have the bullpen advantage. And then the game is over and you're in the bank, right? And the noise is incredible that the Phillies fans create. But I think more than anything and why we're attracted to this fan base is the identity that they have formed. It's us against the world. Nobody likes us. It's just about us. And this identity has made them such a cohesive unit. And that unit can go in and beat any team on any given day. And then if they have a couple advantages on their side, they're going to win the ball game. Now, I am the most excited series for me is Phillies Braves. If it gets there, which I think it will, because I think the Phillies either close it out today or close it out tomorrow. It's different with the Brewers, Diamondbacks, Rays, Rangers, where I think if the Rays get through, they have the advantage in game 3. And if the Brewers get through, I don't see major advantages. So it's kind of like a coin flip game. Philly, I have more faith in Ranger Suarez in this playoff setting than I do Aaron Nola. So I love that they have him in the background. And then this cohesive identity in a must-win game is only going to be exaggerated when we watch that. The noise is going to be as loud as possible. It's going to be even louder than game 1. The pregame hype videos, they'll probably wear all black. Like, this is a team that it goes beyond what's on the field. This is a team with an incredible identity, with a great manager. I love that Rob Thompson let Wheeler get through that. Now, they had to pull him in the end because he was up over 100 pitches, and they're going to need him. But I like how they didn't take him out at the first sign of distress when Josh Bell hit that double. Because that wasn't out there. That ground ball where I forget who beat it out. Was it Brian De La Cruz or someone beat out that ground ball to get to first, right? That set up first and third. But that wasn't out. Like he could have gotten out that inning. It's just, it was in between because Wheeler didn't get to the bag. But I love that Rob Thompson did that. They all believe in each other. And you got Bryce Harper as the captain of this team, but then Superman and Trey Turner just keeps doing his thing, right? Because Harper's the leader, but he still only went 1 for 4. But how about Castellanos doing a job? How about Trey Turner? Bohm with a big hit, right? Pache got a hit. Stott got a hit. Rojas just continues to be so pesky at the bottom of that lineup. And then Schwarber, of course, leads off the game with a hit. I don't know if I mentioned Bryson Stott yet, but he also got a hit. Like, they're so deep from top to bottom. And when you got Bryce Harper, and if Trey Turner is hot, this team is so dangerous.
Is Trey Turner a big moment guy? Is he officially a big moment guy?
How can he not be a big moment guy?
He was the king of the WBC, but I don't know.
I
I
know
guess
in the World Series before, or not in the World Series, the playoffs before, he's made some tough errors. He hasn't been great offensively to play, but I'm saying right now,
I'm just wondering
Trey
if
Turner is a
20,
big moment guy.
like, I don't know, we have 162 regular season games, but the 8 or 9 games that we got to see from Trey Turner in the WBC were amazing. And then, here we go. We got one wild card game where he looks like he's one of the catalysts for the Phillies. If he has a good postseason, he might just be like a big moment guy.
I think he's a big moment guy.
So,
do you have anything on the Marlins? Like, I do want to shout out Josh Bell. I think he had a phenomenal day at the plate. Every at bat was competitive, and it led to a couple of hits for him. He went 3 for 4 with 2 doubles. Jesus Sanchez added a hit. Brian De La Cruz and Jake Berger as well. But Luis Arraez is limping around. That ankle is a problem. And we saw it in his last at bat. But I mean, he's just so incredible with the bat. The fact that he can get to 99 miles an hour in from a lefty and Jose Alvarado, who's just beaming down on guys. Like, it's one thing to throw 99. It's another thing to be 6'4", 260 with that extension of his from the left side facing a lefty. Such a good piece of hitting, but he's hobbling down to first. They should have pinch ran for him. Imagine if he had to burn it to third. He might injure that ankle even more. Tough game for the Marlins. I cannot see them winning 2 in a row, which means they will win 2 in a row. And because of that, they will win 2 in a row, because that would be the most baseball thing of all time.
I'm sure. I'm totally sure. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have anything really positive to say about the Marlins. Luzardo looked solid, but they just ran into like the worst guy to run into if I want to have positive takeaway in Zach Wheeler. It's impossible to have a positive takeaway for an offense that opposes Zach Wheeler in the postseason. So that's kind of where I stand. I do think they get a win tonight in game 2, but I had there's a woman, Alexa Ross, works as a local sports reporter in Indianapolis, and she's from Philly. She went to Temple. She said, I would give several organs to be at Citizens Bank Park right now, and I think that perfectly embodies the Philadelphia Philly fan base. I don't think that fan base can lose a game 3. So I do think that this is Phillies in 3.
Arm will be at the game. I'm really hoping the Marlins win game 2 so I can be at game 3. I was DMing with some Phillies fans last night because they were all fired up, and I kept tweeting about the Phillies, and I was fired up for Red October because, again, I'm a Red October guy.
Yeah.
And they kept saying, this is the start for Nola. Phillies money line, Pete, hammer us. We're going to win game 2. And I'm like, I think you might win game 2 as well, but there's no fucking shot I'm betting on it. I want you guys to lose so I could go to game 3 at Citizens Bank. Now I'm going to go to the series against the Braves if they do win, but I really want to see a game 3. I really want to see a decided game in Citizens Bank. And I think they win that one. And I think it's going to be insanely rowdy. And we're going to cover it here on the Just Baseball Show. We went over game 1, previewed game 2, and we will be back tomorrow to do the same thing. If there's any winner to take all games, if somehow, nope, it can't be possible for all this series to be over. Well, yes, it could. Diamondbacks win, Brewers win, Twins win, and the Phillies win. We'll be previewing the ALDS and the NLDS here on the Just Baseball Show. Get yourself some Just Baseball merch. It's right in time for the playoffs. Why not? Right? Why not? Get yourself a hat. Get yourself a t-shirt. All right? It's in the episode description. And if you enjoyed this, if you could rate and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts 5 stars, maybe a written review, and subscribe on YouTube. Hit the like button and comment who you think is going to win, or if anything we said was crazy and you disagree, or if you agree. That's Jack McMullen. I'm Peter Appel. We are brought to you by BetMGM. And with that, thank you, everybody.